and Diane Johnson lived in the small and quiet town of Bellevue, Idaho, with their 16-year-old daughter, Sarah. There hadn't been a reported homicide in approximately a decade, and the family even felt comfortable enough to never lock their doors. Life was pretty good until the early morning of September 2nd, 2003. A neighbor called 911 when Sarah went to her house in a panic, saying someone shot her parents. When police arrived at the Johnson residence, they found Alan dead on the bedroom floor close to the bed. He had been shot twice in the chest. Diane was shot in the head in the couple's bed, killed while she slept. The shower was still running and there was blood all over the bathroom, including the shower door, as well as the bedroom walls and ceiling. It was a gruesome scene, to say the least. There were also 2 knives at the end of the bed on the floor, which looked unusual. A 3rd knife was on the bed of the couple's son, who was away at college. A bullet was located in the shower tile lining up to Alan's chest. Police believe the assailant shot him while he was in the shower and he stumbled out into the bedroom before collapsing and succumbing to his gunshot wounds. A .264 caliber Winchester bolt-action hunting rifle was left at the scene. Sarah's bedroom was down the hall from her parents, and she said she was asleep when she heard the first gunshot. She called for her mother, and when she heard a second gunshot, she ran to their neighbor's house for help. Prime suspect number 1 was Mel Spiegel. He rented the guest house on the property and was a close friend of the Johnsons for years. The scope to the murder weapon was found in plain sight on his bed. It turns out he owned the firearm that was used to kill his landlords and friends. But Mel was nowhere to be found. Police ended up finding him out of town visiting family, which was corroborated. So Mel was quickly eliminated as a suspect. So how did his rifle end up being used to commit the murders? Mel said he left it inside his closet. Mel was very helpful when questioned because he also pointed authorities to whom he thought actually killed the Johnsons, Bruno Santos. Bruno was dating 16-year-old Sarah and was 19 years old. The Johnsons disapproved of their courtship and threatened to file statutory rape charges against Bruno if he didn't stop seeing their daughter. Bruno was an illegal immigrant, and any more trouble with the law would send him back to Mexico. Bruno claimed he was home at the time of the murders, and his mother backed up his story. Bruno's semen was also found on Sarah's bed, which proved he'd been in the Johnsons' home. He quickly became the new prime suspect. His clothing was tested, and to the surprise of investigators, none of the Johnsons' DNA was found on his clothing, nor was Bruno's DNA found at the crime scene. So who else could have done this? Interestingly, Diane's sister, Sarah's aunt, noticed that Sarah was taking the murders of her parents very well. She didn't grieve or act sad. Could 16-year-old Sarah have been the perpetrator? Well, Sarah did have motive. She wanted to be with Bruno, and her parents objected. There was also substantial inheritance and life insurance money that would come to her upon their deaths. Sarah also had the means. Since she often cleaned the guest house, her parents provided her with keys. She must have seen Mel's rifle and later stole it to commit the murders while she knew Mel would be out of town. And being the only person in the home at the time of the murders, Sarah had the opportunity. Sarah also claimed when she heard the gunshots, her bedroom door was closed, but her own mother's blood and skull matter were on her bedroom walls some 30 feet away. Clearly, the door had to have been open for this to occur. Sarah was looking more and more guilty. Detectives knew if they tested the clothes she was wearing at the time of the murders, they would find her parents' blood on them and their case would be solid. However, to their shock, no DNA or blood was found on Sarah's clothes. Police also didn't see any blood on her the morning of the murders. This was not looking good for detectives. But when investigators processed the scene the morning of the homicides, they noticed a garbage truck was making its rounds. Not wanting to lose any potential evidence, they stopped the garbage truck from taking the Johnsons' trash. This would turn out to be crucial in solving these heinous crimes. So what did they find in the Johnsons' trash that was only moments away from being taken to a landfill? There was a robe, a latex glove, a leather glove, and 5 bullets. The ammo ended up not matching the murder weapon, but the robe was identified as Sarah's. An analysis was done on the front exterior of the robe, and no DNA was found. However, layers of microscopic high-velocity blood splatter were found belonging to Alan and Diane on the back of the robe. So Sarah put the robe on backwards. They ended up matching the front t-shirt Sarah wore that morning with the inside of the back of the robe. So Sarah put the robe on backwards. Who knows, maybe Sarah was inspired by seeing a Snuggies infomercial. They ended up matching the front t-shirt Sarah wore that morning with the inside of the back of the robe. That t-shirt had some green paint on it, making the analysis make sense. This evidence transfer proved how Sarah avoided getting blood on her clothing. Sarah also was the only source of DNA on the latex glove found in the trash with the robe. The robe and gloves also had traces of gunshot residue. Sarah really thought out these murders. She was a true crime fan and did her research. She wore her robe backwards, used gloves to avoid detection, and also wore a shower cap she flushed down the toilet because she knew her parents' blood would be all over it. It ended up clogging the pipes and was recovered by plumbers. Sarah also stole Mel's rifle to commit the crimes and placed the knives at the foot of her parents' bed to throw off police. But all her calculating wasn't enough to outsmart authorities. On October 29, 2003, Sarah was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and was tried as an adult.
Sarah, I have a warrant for your arrest for the murder of your parents, Diane and Alan Johnson. You're charged with 2 counts of murder, and you're under arrest. Okay? Stand up.
Bruno ended up testifying against Sarah at her trial. He claimed she hated her father and talked about shooting him. On March 16, 2005, Sarah was found guilty of 2 counts of murder and was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole on June 30, 2005. Sarah unsuccessfully petitioned for a new trial and is currently serving her time at the Pocatello Women's Correctional Center.